What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the 2 Cents FPL podcast. I don't know about you guys, but my FPL weekend has been terrible, tragic, something to write off. I've never seen so many red arrows in my life. But yeah, I don't know about you. Zach, Luke, let's start off with Zach. How are you thinking, bro? How you feel?
FPL-wise, I'm continuing the trend of green arrows. Got my first green arrow of the season last week. Always good to go 1 for 1. And then got another green arrow this week into the top 1.8 million, which is still not quite where I want to be. But I think there are like over 9 million players this season, which is ridiculous. So I suppose it's not too bad, especially earlier on in the season. But yeah, could have been better for me, but I'll take over 50 points.
Zach, I'm thoroughly impressed, bro. You've put on a masterclass. I mean, for the viewers and the listeners, go subscribe to ZMC Productions right now. If this guy's getting green arrows after a weekend like this, like, he must know something. So go check him out.
With
Luke?
Bailey and Andres Pereira on the bench, by the way.
Yeah. Lucas, what's your story, bro?
Yeah, I'm the opposite, gents. I wouldn't trust me. I don't know how I feel. I didn't get any. I think I did actually get some red arrows in it, but I think I've kind of treated this as like, if you're writing a test or something and the whole class does like really bad, and you also do bad, like you don't feel bad because everyone else did badly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like one of those game weeks. I got 44 points, which is kind of okay. It's below the average, so I was pretty upset. But yes, my defense was massive. I got two points from my back line. And when you've got Trent, James, and Cancelo, you're not expecting 2 points there, bro. So
yeah,
that was and the 1 point came from flipping your boy Zach, your number one, Nico Williams. So he's doing the things for me. Yeah, so that defense is looking quite heavy, and I think I'm also probably gonna eventually look at wildcarding because these Liverpool people are not pulling through, and I just think that there's definitely some alternatives now that have proven themselves, at least in these 3 weeks, that I think I could definitely bring in. But yeah, otherwise not the greatest weekend. But that's why we have this podcast, so I can just feed off, and that's why Hayden's not on this podcast, because yeah.
No, look, funny thing you mentioned Liverpool players and getting rid of them. I've also been thinking of putting a wild card in possibly next weekend if I run into the same issue of players just not performing. But I was thinking, we should definitely discuss, because I think that's the topic on everyone's mind right now is, do we get rid of Liverpool players and Chelsea players as well? Because I think everyone has also been, like considering James, possibly Cucurella as well, and then standard procedure, we've got Salah. I know it's commonplace to have Trent in at this point as well, and then many people have also opted, like myself, to go for Luis Diaz. And if we look at those numbers there, I mean, that's like half your FPL, depending on, like Liverpool and Chelsea. Also, I think, Luke, you the same as well, Cancelo at the back as well, who's also hasn't been giving points. But I think it's fair to say Man City is a different story. I think, they just had a little bit of an upset against Newcastle, but especially in the case of Cancelo, I think we can all agree that Cancelo stays in the team. But Chelsea especially, after that performance against Leeds, I mean, Leeds did play well, but Chelsea just super, super disappointing, especially in defense. It makes you consider things. So I think we should probably discuss Chelsea first, and what to do maybe with Reece James, Cucurella, if you have him, or if you're thinking of getting him, maybe avoid. What do you think there, Zach?
It's a tough one. I just bought Cucurella last week, so it'll be tough to let him go. They do have Leicester at home, which I think is fairly decent, considering Leicester haven't been that good. Southampton away could be decent as well. West Ham at home, West Ham haven't been that good this season, and then Fulham away. So fixtures-wise, this looks pretty solid. They then got the Liverpool game, and then after that, it does kind of get a little bit more difficult, but still not crazy. So I think if you still believe in, James, Cucurella, if you have Mount, maybe you have Sterling. Like if you believe in those guys, if you believe they're good players and they're gonna come good, then I think keep them because the fixtures are quite decent. But if you're starting to question how well they can perform, I think you can maybe look elsewhere.
Lucas, what's your heart telling you?
For what specifically?
Cucurella, James, Mount, Chelsea in general.
Are
they
no,
leaving
I
or
still back
staying?
Chelsea. No, I think they're staying. James, even if he's not getting clean sheets, he's still like a massive goal threat and like a very prominent assist provider. So that's always there. I don't really know what's going on. I don't know what happened in that Leeds game. I didn't watch it, so I don't know where it all went wrong for them. But yeah, like you said, Cancelo, I think it's just a bit of a slump. The problem for me is Trent now because he's blanked like 3 weeks in a row, and for 7.5 I could definitely redistribute that somewhere else where I can get a lot more from that. Just this Liverpool defense, like all of them in general, are not too good. I mean, Gomez potentially, but if you're not getting clean sheets, Gomez is not exactly the biggest goal threat either. So but I've got James in my team and I'm going to keep him.
Okay.
I think their fixtures are also pretty decent. You guys did say Leicester, Southampton, West Ham, Fulham. The only one that's kind of tough is Liverpool within the next like 5 game weeks. So I think it's worth keeping him. Cucurella, I think that's a definite differential for Chelsea. I don't know why Chilwell's not starting. Like I thought he was back to fitness and like the number one man.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting that I mean, I guess they spent all that money on Cucurella. It'd be very awkward if he just went and sat on the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah, in all honesty, I think it's still worth having at least one Chelsea defender, being James or possibly, like Luke mentioned, Cucurella as a differential, especially if you followed our instructions of unfortunately bringing Cucurella in last week. I think there is still potential there. You may suffer a little bit of a price drop, but I don't think that's too drastic in the grand scheme of things. The only thing I would be a little bit suspect of is Chelsea attackers and midfielders. That's like my only concern. But I don't think Tuchel's going to stop his wing backs from advancing and crossing anytime soon. I think that style of play is there to stay. So I think it's still possible to get a James goal or assist. Same thing for Cucurella. So yeah. And then like moving on to the next topic, Liverpool. What are our thoughts there? I guess I'll start with this one. For me, I think as sad as I am that Trent is not working, unless I do decide to wild card, he's definitely going to stay in there. Like I just think it's like if I downgrade him, it's going to force like another change to distribute that money, if you get what I'm saying. So I could only like kind of double swap him out and then put that money elsewhere. And I don't know, Nunes was also out on a red card. So in my opinion, that changes the game. If you have Nunes there as well, you've got someone else to pass to. Whereas like for Firmino, like he's not really that attacking. He kind of sits back, false nine, distributes it to Salah or Luis Diaz. So I think the potential for Trent, getting an assist. Also, we didn't see a good opportunity to take a free kick, and we know Trent is going to be on those. So you can still possibly get points off him there. I mean, he's one of the like highest owned players for a reason. So I think he's worth keeping, unless you're going to maybe distribute your funds more in the midfield or up front, and then you want to save money there. But obviously, like that only kind of really works out if you're going to go for a wild card. The only thing I will say is, like myself, I'm considering getting rid of Luis Diaz. Not that I don't think he's got, like the potential to haul in some points. But I think I'll probably go for, like maybe an underrated pick. Possibly to save money and then like get 2 other premiums. someone like, I don't know, Saint Max, who's been doing well. The issue there is their fixtures aren't too great. But yeah, I also love Kulusevski. I've mentioned him before for the same price point, and I think Tottenham have got a really good run of fixtures. We haven't been playing at our full potential at the moment, but it does look like we're gonna just only get better. So I think Kulusevski is obviously worth it. But maybe if you looking at getting some other Tottenham players in, Son, Kane. I know people were talking about going from Haaland back to Kane, just because Kane's got slightly better fixtures, and there's been talk about Haaland being rotated out. But I think probably maybe just save your transfers and react after this next weekend as well, because I think these past 2 weeks there's been kind of misleading games and fixtures and results. So maybe just be patient. It still is the beginning of the season, so don't do too many free hits too early. Rather just wait it out and see how things pan out. That's just my general opinion. I know, Zach, what's your take on it? I know I've spoken for about half an hour here. But yeah, anything you want to maybe chip in?
So on the Trent thing, his numbers are down. It is only 3 games, but compared to what he usually puts up, his underlying numbers are down. And that's especially surprising considering the teams he's played against, Fulham, Palace, and then United sitting deep. Liverpool have had 70% possession, or average 70% possession in all of those games. So you'd expect him to actually be banging it, considering the amount of possession Liverpool have had. So that is kind of worrying. But the big question with Trent is, it's not should you take him out, it's if you take him out, who do you replace him with? And I don't think I'm quite happy with the alternatives yet. Zinchenko is looking at me very nicely. He's got beautiful eyes, but I'm not quite convinced yet. I would like a Brighton defender because their defense has been very solid recently. The only problem is none of their wing backs are classified as defenders. So Trossard, who plays as a wing back, isn't a defender. He's a midfielder, and then March. He's also classified as a midfielder, so that's a bit of an issue. They have brought in Pervis Estupiñán from Villarreal, and he is a wing-back. So he could play as their right wing-back instead of Solly March, and he is listed as a defender. So he could be a good 4.5 option if you are looking for under the G's, 4.5 option who could bag you some points. I've got Sanchez as well, so I'm kind of covering Brentford.
Same, yeah. I wouldn't really want to double up on Brighton.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe you have a Raya, for example, or you've gone with like a Allison or Edison as a premium option. Maybe look at Estupiñán. Zinchenko, like I mentioned, he's kind of intrigues me, but for now, I just don't think that they're good enough options for me to move off of Trent, who has been like the FPL player of the past few seasons in terms of like value for money. Like, it just doesn't get better than Trent, so I'm probably gonna keep him for now. Just one more thing I would like to mention is, you mentioned wildcarding. This season's kind of weird because normally after game week 4 we have an international break, and that's generally when I and a lot of FPL managers play their wildcard, because you've got 4 weeks of information. You can then make decisions over the entire international break. Like, that seems like a good time to play a wildcard. This year, not only do we not have the international break, we actually have midweek games that week. So game week 5 is a midweek game week. We have games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it's kind of the opposite of what you want. You kind of want like things to slow down so you can properly take a breath and look at the game.
Yeah.
Instead, things are going to be speeding up. So it'll be interesting to see how people use their wildcards moving forward.
And Lucas, what you thinking of all of this nonsense going on? What's your take? Your hot potential trash takes.
I don't know if I have any trash takes. Like I said a little bit earlier, my defense is definitely something that's got to change there. I don't know. Like for the amount of money between Trent, James, and Cancelo, that's like 7, 6, and another 7 point something. That's That's a lot.
20.5.
I mean, and for me personally, I agree with you when you were saying with Diaz, he's 8 mil, but he's not really bringing in the returns. I do understand that they're probably going to find their feet and get into that form again. But I'd rather not wait for that. I could definitely go for someone. I know he's quite expensive, but De Bruyne for me, for some reason, just feels like he's a must-have.
Foden even? I don't know what Foden's price is though.
I don't know about Foden. Like, just De Bruyne he's a goal threat. He's assisting. He's on form. He's gonna give to Haaland. Like, he's giving to anyone in the front there, and he's just involved in everything. Even just, it's amazing. So I feel like he's gonna be someone that I'm definitely gonna be looking to bring in. And then I don't know. Just I'm really really vibing with this Arsenal squad right now, bro. Even Saliba he's had a bit of a bad game week 2 with the minus, and then he just comes and bangs out another double digits game week. So I mean, I see his price now is 4.5, which I think is definitely something that's worth considering. It would be nicer to have a Zinchenko, because that's probably the probability of him getting an assist, or I think he does take corners also, is a lot more. But then there's with the likes of like Perisic and Trippier, bro. I don't know.
Dude, Trippier is the only saving grace that I had in my defense.
Yes, this Newcastle team is quality. I don't know how they got like 2 or 3 new players and now they're popping off. So yeah, between Perisic, Trips and Zinchenko, I think it's going to be quite difficult for me. But yeah, I think definitely the backline. And for me personally, goalkeepers, I've got Raya. I think he's been all right, but there's definitely a conversation to be had with bringing in potentially like a what's this, Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale's doing pretty well, and I think he's only 5 point something also. So yeah, but the wild card is definitely a possibility. I'll give it like another week or 2, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this session with the FPL crew. If you enjoyed, definitely put a comment in the comment section. Give us a like, review, rating. We'd really appreciate it. It does go a long way. Helps us with the algorithm and everything. And yeah, it's been the 2 cents footy, or 2 cents FPL crew.
There we go.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.